I play video games for a reason. It's to either see the world in another person's perspective, or step away from reality. They all have different cliches, some good, some bad, and I think a certain burning trinity is making a list like that. However, what I will be doing is putting together my personal top 10 things I dislike in video games. A lot of these parts of gaming turn out to be a really stupid idea. Now, I don't hate these, I just dislike them. In fact, the first 5 entries on this list are ones that I personally don't really hate. The next 5, maybe a little bit. And because other people have made lists exactly like these, there are certain things in gaming that won't be on this list. Even though I hate them, I just want to be a little bit different. So escort missions, obvious weak points, quick time events, ice levels, water levels, luck-based gameplay, regenerating boss health, and stupid AI will not be on the list. And remember that this is my personal top 10. To me it might be the worst thing ever, while to another person it might be the best thing ever since Super Mario Galaxy 2. Okay, maybe not Super Mario Galaxy 2, but well, you get the point. Okay, I've talked long enough. Let's begin.
So naive, Travis. If you have someone to protect, you will lose them eventually. See for yourself.
Tutorials in gaming are almost mandatory. What's the point of playing a game if you don't know how to use the controls well? So yeah, tutorials are pretty important. So are little tips of advice. In fact, tutorials can be pretty fun if you do them well. However, something I can't stand are repetitive tutorials. The best thing I would need is just a small piece of information. I can just figure out everything else from there. However, when a character just needs to ramble on about unnecessary details, it really gets annoying. Really annoying. The biggest offenders of this come from the Zelda series. Navi, Fi, and the worst one of all, Kepura Gepura. This owl appears in literally every location in the game, and when he talks, it takes forever. So you'll spend your time just pressing A repetitively just to skip all of his text. Yet he has the nerve to ask you, "Did you hear that?" And the default option is no. So since you'll be tapping the A button so much, you might accidentally restart his whole explanation. I use tutorials to learn controls and about the areas I'm in, not to literally bore myself with large amounts of text.
Fucking owl, you suck!
Silent protagonists are pretty awesome now that I think about it. Although they don't exactly carry the same emotions that a normal talking person would do, they still manage to immerse the player into the game because they don't actually speak. Therefore, the player finds it easier to put themselves into their perspective. And silent protagonists are 70% better than characters that will not shut up.
You know what they say, the more the merrier. You know what they say, the more the merrier.
My point exactly. You see, characters that talk a lot are okay, for the most part. However, characters that talk too much can really get on my nerves, because for one, it really bores me, and for two, it gets really irritating to hear the same person talk all over and over again. This could also link to number 9 with Kepura Gepura, but I think that this deserves its own place. One specific example.
Leon! 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 Leon!
But I think we all know the worst example is in Metroid Other M. Sure, the Metroid series is awesome, and the series has built itself with a silent protagonist. Samus, as we all know, is a character that most people are used to viewing as a silent protagonist. However, what Other M did was make Samus a talking character, but not a very good one at that.
A dream. I had been reliving the tragic moments of my recent past. Thanks to the hyper beam, which was given to me somehow by the baby, I laid Mother Brain to waste.
Okay, that's it. Alright, time to play.
None of the baby remained on me. I knew it to be true, but still couldn't help looking at my palm for a sign.
I think Ian Hecox sums it up pretty well.
Sometimes, you just need to shut the f*** up.
Zombies in video games are becoming overused. In games like Left 4 Dead and Dead Rising, they're reasonable to be there because they're games that you would expect to see zombies. However, in games that really don't need them, it just seems way too unnecessary to add them in. The problem I have with zombies are that they're in a lot of games that I play today. Half-Life, Minecraft, Resident Evil, Red Dead Redemption, Uncharted, Halo, Call of Duty, and even Skate 3. Skate 3! Zombies in a skating game. Yes, I know, zombies can be fun to kill. However, with all the other games that overuse this concept, they've sort of lost what makes them great. They can be cool sometimes, but we don't want zombies to go with every single game we play. Every video game series needs a hot chick. A lot of females in video games could have some sort of sex appeal. Heck, even Nintendo characters like Samus, Palutena, and even Princess Peach could be considered as attractive. But at least they aren't blatantly trying to look hot. Because some games try way too hard to give their female sex appeal. Often it really annoys me that sometimes I feel that a lot of games are targeted at perverts. So for number 7, it's over-sexualized appearance. I dislike this because whenever I play a game with a character that is trying too hard to look sexy, I feel really awkward because of how pathetic it seriously ends up being. And then there are those games, oh my god, what the fuck is this? Look, I can accept the fact that some females are just genuinely attractive. I'm really bothered by it when developers take way too far, over-the-top appearance, and it's just no. There are 3 games that bother me the most with this. Bayonetta, the Mortal Kombat series, and Lollipop Chainsaw. Don't get me wrong, these games are good in some form, but I just wish they didn't look like sluts half the time. Now, I am not trying to be sexist. Not at all. In fact, I apologize if I offended anyone during this segment. At least Nintendo and Sega focus on the females' personalities rather than their looks. Okay, I think I've talked enough about this. Let's move on. Alright, boss time. Yep. Oh crap, I died. Okay. Let's start again. Wait, what? I have to restart the whole cutscene again and I can't even skip it? Well, that's just great. Yes, cutscenes can be quite entertaining to watch, but often it's those times when you have to keep re-watching the whole cutscene all over again and can't skip it, where things get really irritating. It's mostly games like Crash Twinsanity and Assassin's Creed, where these tropes really begin to show. Something that Conker's Bad Fur Day did right was let you skip a cutscene as long as you've seen it before. So why can't other games implement that system? It'd be a lot better than having to watch the same cutscene 50 times in a row. I'd rather strap myself to a chair, next to a radio on full blast while playing 009 sound system in the background. Actually, no, never mind, forget that. But if you would, you probably get my point already. It's boring! Games that force you to play the game on a higher difficulty to finish them. What? I didn't know what else to call it. Take Ghosts and Goblins for example. The game is probably one of the hardest games on the NES, apart from the Ninja Gaiden trilogy. So to get to the final boss and beat it is quite an achievement. But hang on. What? The final boss was an illusion? Now I have to beat the whole game again on a higher difficulty to unlock the true ending?
You have to beat the game twice? You have to beat the game twice in a row. That's just great, because this time I'm twice as fucking pissed off!
Yeah. However, my least favorite example is in Mickey's Wild Adventure. And no, it's not exactly the same as Ghosts and Goblins. Instead, if you choose the easy difficulty and get up to a certain stage, the game will pretty much just tell you, you can't get past this stage until you set the difficulty higher. So basically, you just have to restart the whole game all over again. What fun. Why not tell us at the beginning that we have to set the difficulty to hard? Don't just wait for us to get to a certain stage. Talk about all that time wasted. Now, I apologize for the lack of footage I have here because I could only find so many. But my point is straightforward. Don't force the difficulty any higher than it already is just so we can finish the game. That's just unfair. In my collab with PC for Life 220, I talked about how cheap boss fights are really annoying. In this list, I'm going to go through something a little more specific. Attack swarms. When a boss or enemy decides to constantly fire random missiles at you, almost making it impossible to dodge them all. The 2 games overuse this trope so much that they've been considered almost impossible. Oh wait, what am I saying? They are impossible! Unfortunately though, my least favorite example comes from Cave Story. Yes, the game is good, but most of his bosses seem rather cheap. A lot of the bosses just fire random projectiles at you, and you are expected to dodge all of them without taking a single hit. In fact, one of the fights actually has an attack that fills up the whole screen, and in order to destroy these projectiles, you need either one of 2 weapons. Guess what? I had neither. So I guess you can predict how that went. So in conclusion, Cave Story is a great game, but its bosses are way too over the top. I'm looking directly at you, Monster X. By the way, Cave Story is a great game. If you haven't played it, go play it now. Thank you. Fire in video games can look awesome when it's done right, but when there's a level based on it, those are the levels I dislike the most. Even after water levels, and water levels are horrible. At least most of them. But anyways, lava levels are one of my least favorite things in video games because basically, the whole level is made of lava. So if you fall in, it burns. It burns! At 90% of the time, there'll always be enemies to knock you into the lava. And often, when you fall into the lava, there's no way to get back up. So you have no choice but to lose a life and start again. On many occasions, if you fall into the lava, you bounce back up, and you have no control over your character for a few seconds. I know there's a point to that, but it's really annoying. More times than many, you'll fall back into the lava. So it's almost the same as just losing a life. Not only that, but some game developers decide to abuse the whole lava system and make really tight platforms in rising lava. Again, it is an obstacle, but again, it is very annoying. A lot of Nintendo games are packed to the rafters with these. But there's also other games that have this trope. In other words, the Minecraft Nether. Oh my god, I hate the Nether. In the Nether, falling into the lava is almost like an instant death. Plus, you lose all of your items if you fall in. The Nether was even put on our top 10 Rage Quit Moments list. That just shows my eternal fury for these types of levels. Rubber bands are awesome. You can use them to perform tricks, or you can use them to make practical jokes. Why am I telling you this? Well, it just seemed relevant.
I don't even care. Do you care? Do you fucking care? I don't care.
Number 2 on this list is Rubber Band AI. Rubber Band AI is used in the majority of racing games today, and quite frankly, it could do a lot more without it. Basically, what happens with the Rubber Band AI is that when you go slow, your opponent goes slow. When you go fast, however, your opponent goes fast. This can add up to you being at the final lap ready to win, and then suddenly, your opponent overlaps you just within the final 5 seconds of the race. Half the time, this can also add up to you either crashing or getting hit by a blue shell. And we all know how that feels. Just because I'm a Mario fan doesn't mean I can let this game off. The Mario Kart series is guilty for having this trope replayed so many times. But it isn't just Mario Kart, it's a lot of other racing games as well, such as Need for Speed, Midnight Club, and even Crash Nitro Kart 2. There's a much worse example of this, but number 1 explains it best. I mean, talk about false hope. Now before we get to number 1, let's recap. Number 10. Repetitive tutorials. Number 9. Characters that won't shut up. Number 8. Overused zombies. Number 7. Number 6. Unskippable cutscenes. Number 5. games that force you to play the game on a higher difficulty to finish them. Number 4, attack swarms. Number 3, lava levels. Number 2, rubber band AI. And the number 1 thing I dislike the most in video games is...
Now you're feeling it! That's your life losing all meaning! You've got nothing left except this fight. Now I know you'll put all you have into this!
You're gonna f***ing pay!
Yes.
Button mashing. Whenever you have to hit a button repetitively to move on into the game, it just seems unnecessary, annoying, and completely shameful to the game's reputation. Button mashing mixes in with quick time events. You may have to hit a button several times to move on, otherwise you have to start the whole cutscene all over again. But it's also used in the majority of games today, like Mario Party for example. Mario Party 2 is probably the worst example of button mashing today. Half the entirety of mini-games require you to hit the A button so many times. In fact, so many people broke the controller sticks just because they were forced to hit the button all over again. But it's not just mini-games that overdo button mashing. Entire games are dedicated to this trope. That's right, you heard me. Entire games. Super Smash Bros. Brawl is probably one of the best games I've ever played. However, I beat every single boss just by pressing 2 repetitively. I just wish the controls were a little bit more balanced, then it would have been a lot better. But a lot of anime games do this a lot. I can't name them all because there are so many of them. But there's also a certain series that does button mashing, and that's called Dynasty Warriors.
It's not a button masher! It's not a— Quiet!
But despite everything I've said so far, there's one example that takes it way too far. And those are the Canary Mary races from Banjo-Tooie. Not only does this combine button mashing with rubber band AI, creating the worst combination of video game cliches ever, but you also have to race her 4 times. I believe people have quit trying to win these races, especially since when you go slow, she goes slow, and when you go fast, she goes fast. Plus your arm will get really tired from pressing the A button so many times. Even on a keyboard, it's hard. In fact, if you're struggling on an N64 controller, forget it. Go into eBay and buy a turbo controller. It'll make your life a whole lot easier. Unfortunately, I've never been able to beat all 4 races. I think I might have almost died while trying to win them.
Oh yeah! It's real funny, ain't it? Ha ha ha! I almost just died, you piece of shit!
In conclusion, button mashing is the number 1 thing I dislike the most in video games. It's effortless, it takes no skill, and it's really brainless. I am MasterJakeStudios, and try and read the description next time.
You want to battle with? See who's a better pacifist? I fought the caste system, but you still cannot touch this. Slumdog Skillionaire, first name Messiah. Rap so hot, I spit yoga fire. Everything you preach, I said it first. You should jot down these words, plagiarize my whole word. Leave your thoughts on the door, like the real Martin Luther. I'm not thinking you shall overcome this, Junior.
I'm the king of civil rights, from the city to suburbia. No shoes, no shirt, but I'm still gonna serve ya. Make you swallow your words so you can break the fast. And thank God Almighty you can eat at last. I admire the way you broke the British power, but I have a dream that one day you'll take a shower. Like the H in your name, you ought to remain silent. Flatten your style like bread, non-violent.
You would know about bread, talk a burning ham sandwich. Boycott those grits, sit in with some spinach. With Protestant women, the same advice goes.